right, gang. Hey, welcome to the first round post I'm a little distracted here. Anyway, welcome to the podcast. We're glad you're with us this week. And
Ah,
oh, Kevin, are you about ready to join us? I'm struggling here. Usually you do this part.
welcome to the podcast, Dave.
Oh, I see where we're going with this.
Ah,
What are you drinking? Is that green?
uh, no, it was just in a green cup. I mean,
Oh,
it
okay.
does it at this point. Does it really matter?
It doesn't. You know,
You
you
know,
know. Hey,
you
I know a
you win,
song,
you win
a
some, you
song that
lose
you could
some.
sing called "I Didn't Make the Playoffs Blues." I hear it's making its rounds on Spotify.
Yeah. Well, I mean, question, Dave. What's worse, not making the playoffs or losing in the first round?
Well, I kind of wish I knew what it was like to lose in the first round.
Oh, okay.
It's been a while, so yeah, I think I would have rather made it.
Okay.
Something to tell
All
my
right.
kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, it losing in the first round isn't all it's cracked up to be. I
yeah,
just let you know that.
so it it gets a little tough this time of year when neither of us are in the playoffs to like
Be
you
real
know,
excited
I don't
about the
have a
podcast.
song. We
No,
neither of us
well,
have a character. We don't have
it,
a little opening bit. We don't have.
I mean, I could have brought out the loser bag.
You could have, and I
Yeah.
could have brought out Mega Loser Man Mask, but it's buried. And like it's just it gets you struggle to
Well,
like just think if we were
but
both in. I bet we would have content. We
oh
would have
yeah,
bits. We would have all kinds of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. But we are here, and
We're
we're
here.
here for our fans,
We are. Yep.
and because those four teams that advanced on, they deserve to get talked about, and we're going to
Yep.
talk about them. So,
And
Dave, do
hey,
you have an award to give out?
I do. I do. You know, I want to start off by acknowledging that, I often type up things on our group chat and speak things on this podcast about how Junior's stupid and he's dumb and he says dumb things and he does dumb things and he roots for dumb teams and all that.
Well, hold on.
And all that's true. All
I was
that,
going to say, yeah,
yeah,
you say
all,
it because it
all that's
happened.
true.
Yeah.
But you know what? You know what he is? He's week one playoff Miller Time Team of the Week.
Oh man.
You know why? Because was I surprised that Flex won? No. Was I surprised that Vader won? No. Was I surprised that carrying the boats,
Josh
won?
Allen won.
Yeah. Was I surprised? No. But Junior, and he won decisively.
Yeah.
He, like you had to bring it this week. Now he didn't have to score as many as he did, but look at these scores for week one. You got 137.4 for flex, 128.4 for those boat carrying guys. Welcome to the Red Kingdom got 131.3, and Junior got 130.6. None of them got high points. That went to Lee.
Yeah.
I thought about it, but I couldn't give the Miller Time team to a non-playoff team as much as I just he got his $10 and that's good for Lee. He represented us losers, but Junior, he was the least. I thought the least likely to
Yeah.
to win and to win decisively. So yeah,
Yeah.
he's still dumb
But,
and he does
well,
dumb
but
things.
I'll just ask you this: not does it surprise you that Ed lost, though?
I know. As much as like
Yeah.
what a season. Like he was with us most of the time. He made all these he had got a lot of wins. Boy, he racked up
Yeah.
those wins. He was hovering
Well,
at the
I thought he
top.
might jump into the chat or something, after this one, because sometimes he'll do that, be like, "Oh, darn shucks,
Yeah.
guys, I good, But
Do you think right now, right this very second, he's wearing bib overalls?
he
What are
might
the
be. I
odds?
don't. They're high.
Ed, if you're listening, please let us
Yeah.
know. Do you have
So,
what time is it? It's
hey,
9:11 p.m. on a Wednesday night. If you're wearing, I would love it. I would love it to
yeah,
no end if he was wearing
yeah,
bib overalls right this
yeah,
second. I don't know why he would be, but
yeah.
you know. So
So.
do you have an award?
Yeah, I do. Just because we have to give one out. I mean, congratulations to all 8 teams that made the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
And to our 4 playoff winners, like you said, no cheap wins this week.
No.
Everybody, and we'll talk more about that in a second, but everybody earned it. It'll go to Heim time only because Andy of the 4 winners scored the least. He didn't
Yeah.
get to 130,
Almost.
128. You know what I mean? Almost.
Yeah.
But Brian, 59.9. That's just laying a big egg.
You
come
work all
playoff
season
time.
to get to
Yeah.
the playoffs. You scratch, you kick, you gnaw, all
Yeah.
that.
This
And
was not
then
a
what do you
bad
do?
beat, Brian. This was like a
No,
beat down, Brian.
that was a beat down. That was a bad play,
Yeah.
Brian. That was a
And
bad
I'll
performance,
say
Brian.
I understand like Junior least likely to win, giving it to him. I will say my honorable mention for team of the week if I was giving one out, and not because it was just against me. That was the most points that Adam scored all season long.
Yeah. You just
I
knew it.
Yeah. Well, I had scored over 100 6 out of the last 7 weeks, with one of them being a 160.
Yeah.
I had just beat him the week before, scoring 120 something to his 80 or 90, whatever he scored. And he has a knack of like doing it when it really, when it matters most, right? Last week didn't matter for either one of us. We probably would have ended up playing each other no matter who won. And but somehow he pulls off the game of his life.
And he got 130 with 8 from his quarterback.
Yeah, crazy. I mean, his defense had a huge score. I mean,
yes.
and my defense did too. It
Yeah.
could have been a little higher if the Bengals didn't bingle, but he got a big score from his defense. But it was just, I mean, his wide receivers just all scored touchdowns. It was,
I almost said something earlier, and I was ready to pounce on you. I'm like, the Bengals D, that's almost an oxymoron.
Well,
It's like
and
the poorest
the
Bengals D.
The first quarter was looking bad.
Yeah, like they scored quick. Yeah, and then it became like you look like a genius with the turnover, But unfortunately for you, Burrow was matching some of those turnovers on short and giving them short fields and stuff. So.
Well, I mean, none of it would have mattered. I mean, I needed other guys to step up, you know what I mean, and that just didn't happen. So the Bengals were not going to carry me to victory, even if they would have got that other touchdown. So, it would have made things closer, but obviously Darnold didn't do much. They didn't have to do much in that game. So the other game, Ratty, valiant effort, 100, but when you're going against flex and he scores 137, and I was talking with Josh. He drove me down to Beat Ups on Monday night. And, Derrick Henry has 6 points. Chase has 9 points. San Francisco only has 6 points. Like, you feel like you get, but Flex's kicker has 18. Lamar's got 46.
40
Jacobs has 17. So it was just, there was some big scores. And Josh, 32 from Hurts was a great one, but he didn't, outside of his defense and kicker, he didn't have double digits from anybody else.
Yeah. And it's tough to make up that 46 if you don't get some, and some of it was just
imagine getting outscored by 14 at the quarterback and you score 32.
Yeah, he'd had some guys like Ridley, Addison, and Sutton that have had some big weeks like recently. They just didn't do it this week, right when he needed them.
Yeah.
None of the three, like they all had some big 20 pointers like fairly recently, and it just didn't happen.
And so then we look at the other matchup for Andy. I mean, when you got Josh Allen, you got a chance to win any matchup because he's going to come up big too.
He's not afraid to run it in, is he?
No, he's not. No. I would not want any of their running backs or wide receivers.
Yeah, they just, man.
Move the ball down the field, get within the 5, and then Josh Allen's going to run it in.
Yeah.
I mean, Jalen Hurts has the tush push. Allen's got the, from 10 yards out, he's willing to take it to the house.
Oh, yeah.
So, and if you look at Brian, Jefferson, the only guy in double digits, and so it just never really got any traction.
No.
And then even on his bench, Goff, the 50-pointer, you said it. If he replaces Murray with Goff, it still doesn't get him the win. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
and we just talked about all these quarterbacks, Hurts, Allen, and who's got the highest scoring quarterback, it's
on
Brian's bench.
Didn't we talk about having multiple quarterbacks that could do something, and it's really tough to pick, you know, and
late in the season, I dropped all my other quarterbacks. I was just like, you know what? I don't even care what, you know.
You don't want to know, you know. You just don't want to know.
So, so congratulations to all those teams. Congratulations to Lee for continuing to fight, getting the high points, and I would say, outside the fact that several of the top quarterbacks are still in the playoffs.
Yeah.
If you were asking me now, Field or Four, who's going to get the high points, it's trending towards the Field, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I think so, just because.
I mean, it's either right now it's probably Flex or one of the rest of us.
Yeah. I mean, I could see Lee doing it again, you know.
Yeah. One of the 8 of us or Flex. That's probably the best thing. But man, I think the matchup, which we'll get to in a second, the matchups next week are going to be really fun to watch.
Could really change things, you know.
Yeah, I mean, all 4 of these teams scored almost 130. So, you know, not that means that they're going to do it this week, but like they all deserve to be there.
Yeah.
and so, if you look at like the trajectory, like, you know, there was several weeks in a row where Adam was in 12th place. He looked like he may not ever make the playoffs. He got hot, you know, and put together some
just
wins
enough
there.
wins. Yeah, one more win that got him the 7 really solidified it. Right at the right time.
Obviously, we know what Flex has done, you know, and Andy's been super consistent, you know. Junior is the odd man out here. He's the one that probably struggled the most all season, kind of lucked into, I don't want to say luck, just like held on to the playoffs, you know what I mean, with a couple wins and a couple losses by other people at the end, but hasn't scored a lot of points this season. And so, but he just scored 130.
He's here.
We'll see what happens.
The scores really got me looking, because I was like, man, no cheap wins. Like we said, 128 was the lowest. All 3 others 130s, you know. So I looked back the last 2 years, and I just assumed that there would have been a cheap win, you know, in 3 seasons, but there really hasn't. So 2 years ago, I scored 134, Flex scored 113, Brian scored 121, and Lee scored 118 in 2022.
Those were all the 4 winners.
So 113 was the lowest. That's you know, I'll take that week 1 of the playoffs. You know. And then last year it was Adam with 108. Kevin with scored 119, Andy with 101, and old Flex with 116. So the lowest was 101. So 3 years in a row, nobody didn't get triple
sub
digits.
100.
Yeah. So I mean, people are you know, at the right time. You don't want to.
Well, and I like that, rewarding the teams that, you know what I mean. This
earning it.
if 3 of our wins would have been in the 130s, and then somebody would have played Brian and say scored, you know, 69 to 59.
Like if I would have slipped in, I could have easily slipped in and played, you know, I don't know. I guess I wouldn't have played Brian, but but you know, but
if somebody would have played Brian and it had been 69 to 59, you know, Ratty would be like, well, what the heck? I'm going home. I scored 100, and you know, so
but even his 100 would have been, you know, it wouldn't have beat any of the last 2 years.
Right.
the winners.
Yep. Yeah. And so that's where I'm okay with, you know, I tip my hat to Adam and say, hey, you picked the right week to get hot. That was the most he's scored all season. I mean, even he's 2-1 against me in the season. I hate to say that, but our week 2 or 3 matchup, whichever, I guess week 3 matchup, was like 79 to 59. You know what I mean? Like, it was a terrible game. So he got the win, but it was like neither one of us did much. You know what I mean? So he came out, scored 130. Flex did what Flex does. Andy stayed consistent, got that 128, and then Junior, you know, for some people maybe say out of nowhere with the 130, but you know, you like that momentum going into next week, and so it's cool to see that over the last couple of years we haven't gotten one of those guys slip through the playoffs with a low scoring match. So that's good.
Yeah. I mean, to his credit, he went with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Like, hasn't really been a fantasy stalwart all season, but he went with there and got 35 at the right time.
Yeah.
If he would have stuck with Stroud,
points.
he would have got 15 less, which he still would have won by a lot. But then boy, he had Mike Evans went crazy. Higgins got a touchdown. But the big question, can you do it again?
Yeah. So before we jump into next week's matchups, this will be a super short podcast, guys. You know what I mean? We're not in it. There's only 4 teams that are, so there's not as much to talk about because but
there were less games to talk about and less games to talk about for next week. So it gets harder and harder.
Yeah, but you asked me and it kind of got preempted before we ever, because Adam just happened to watch the podcast like maybe on Monday, I guess, late, and so you had asked me, David texted me, he said, hey, when you go down to B-Dub's house, you're going to have a good turnout.
He had 7 people, right?
Yeah, he said, talk about the raising the entry fee, see what everybody thinks. And just, out of nowhere, right after he texted me that, Adam had posted on there, he's like, hey, I'm for raising the entry fee. Yeah. He was like, he said some things he liked and didn't like about, some of the different
one
things.
That you had touched on, the automatic
the side bet
entry side bet. I didn't think of that.
And so, we had talked about it, and honestly, like, not because it was Adam or anybody else, but like, he took your formula and then just kind of tweaked a little bit with some of the things we talked about.
And I was looking for.
and it sounded like a lot of people were probably for that. You know what I mean? I mean, the discussion we had at B-Dubs was short, but it was like everybody seemed on board. Everybody in chat so far seemed on board. So I would just assume that you can take a look at that, make sure all the math comes out right. I don't think Adam would make a mistake, but that if that all works, and that we would probably move forward with some version of that.
Yeah, I mean, we could have some, if we're sort of by default in charge of this, I guess
you ultimately are. I'm just a megaphone, what I mean? I'm a voice for the
by
people.
His math, there ended up being a $65 pool for the side bet. Now we could decide whether we split that or whether it's 85 15% and what, depending on what we do. So I kind of think that's kind of fun.
Well, and
we don't have to know what the side bet's going to be and how we're going to break it down.
Well, so like and I think
there's this pool of money that's there.
This past year we did a side, this year here we did a side bet. And
sort of a soft landing, like sort of preemptive for next year.
Some people didn't love the format of it, which is fine. But I'm a big Rounders fan, right? And there's a part in Rounders where instead of playing Texas Hold'em, I think they're playing Omaha, which I believe Omaha is one of the games where you pay out the high and the low.
Yeah, I haven't played a whole lot of that, but yeah.
But there's also a way in which, if you have the right cards, where you get the high and the low. And so Matt Damon's character, they're like in a cigar bar, and he's talking. He's like, well, what this is called is the wheel, because it's got enough of this for the high, but it also has got this for the low, like whatever it is. I don't have it memorized like you would. But so that was kind of like the inspiration, was like, oh, what if we had a side bet that kind of like rewarded a couple different things, but there was the possibility that if you did well, if the stars aligned, that you could actually get the whole thing. And so that was kind of it. We can
we got some time.
we can revisit that, but again, with the side bet,
so I mean, technically this year
doesn't mean, if we set that aside and say, hey, you've prepaid for like a game that we'll play within the game, it doesn't mean that we necessarily have to give all $65 to one person. We could do 50 and 15. We could do 40 and 25. We could do split it down the middle. Like we could do whatever we want.
So I mean, technically, whether people want it or not, this year the entry fee was $70.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's sort of like, so if people sort of complain like, well, 75, well, you paid 70 this year. So,
Yeah.
you're only paying $5 more than you did.
Yeah.
So
Yep. And
it's all right there.
So that was, I think that was favorable. People like that. And,
So the caveat
again,
is here, we do, I think it's a go. I mean, I think 75 is how we, maybe it's just the semantics and the math right now. But so when money goes to be divvied out, it's going to be a little less because I keep the entry fee for people that are going to stay in the league, which I assume everybody, if you're not going to stay in, let us know, but I assume all 12 are going to stay in. So that'll factor into what, like, oh, I thought I'd get a little bit. No, you pay the
well, which is, and I will say, as a former winner, that raising some of those fees, especially the the league champion. We've talked about this.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
That's a tough road to hoe. If you end up winning the league and have the most wins at the end of the season, and let's say you do win that. And this year it doesn't matter because Travis got that plus all the high points. But there's been teams that have won.
You get knocked out.
Get knocked out. Don't have any high points, and they're like, you hold the $60 back, and it's like, oh well, you don't really get anything. And you won the league, and it's like,
you might have got a high point, one or two, but so you might get $20.
$20 so I like this. $100 for the league winner, at least, no matter what, you feel like you're going to walk away with something. And I believe this with all my heart. I don't think anybody is in this league for the money. You know what I mean?
No,
like the money is a measurement.
Fun to it.
No, it does. No, I'm not saying we would do it for free. I'm not saying like the money. It's part of the allure, the bragging rights, but like I do it for the community. You know what I mean? Like I love these guys and I love bantering back and forth. And if you didn't have a measuring stick to say, how much money did you win or what did you like, what's the real point? But like, it at the end of the day, whether it costs us $40 to be in the league or whether it costs us $100 in the league, like it's well worth it for me just because I enjoy doing it. So,
and I feel like in the next couple years it's going to go to 18 games, so that'll be another $10 that's pulled away from so I think it just makes it, you got more to play with. And I like the the side bet thing where it's you got more chances, and so I think it'll be good. Just have, for some of us that didn't make the playoffs, I might have to go donate some or sell some plasma or something, but I got time.
Well, it just depends. Like, what did you invest all that money in at the beginning of the fall? Did you buy crypto and do it, or did you buy something else?
I put it all into Kamala's campaign.
Oh,
is that going to be good for me?
It's not going to be good. Actually, you might come under review at a House Oversight Committee.
That's true. I put it all on her because remember we talked about you could bet.
Yeah, you could bet. Yeah,
I put it all on her.
Man, you probably were getting great odds too. That's a shame.
Yeah. So
yeah. All right. Well, let's look at these matchups that we got. We'll start with Flex because he's our reigning league champion, and he's up against carrying the boats. And we talked about this last time. How is it that Flex is projected to score 123 points?
I know, like it just hasn't stopped. It's like no down weeks. He doesn't really have injury concerns.
That's got to be one of the highest running back projections I've seen with Jacobs, 20 points.
Yeah,
I mean, not that running backs don't score 20,
but a lot has to go
right.
That's 140 yards and a touchdown or 2 touchdowns. Like that's not. That's basically
they
saying,
are playing the Saints.
Jordan Love, you're not going to throw the ball.
Yeah. And then Jacobs with 30. I mean, that's just like they've just given up. They're like, okay, he's going to score this. Like it's going to happen. And so Josh Allen and Jackson or Lamar, that's a wash. But then Andy's going to have some guys really step up, and
or Pittsburgh. Tomlin's talking big defense this week and figures out a way to shut down both the quarterback and a running back.
I will say this. It'll be remarkable. I mean, Travis could just run this thing all the way through the finish line. He very well could. but everybody has a down week.
Yeah.
And wouldn't it stink if Travis, I think it's, and Rennie will test to this, we talk about the perfect season all the time. It's hard to win the league and then turn around and then win the championship.
But he does have, like, say Pittsburgh does somehow stall both Jackson and Henry. All right. He's got Jacobs and Chase, and he's got, a couple of McBride, who's been pretty solid. He's got, a kicker that's solid. He's got a defense going against Chicago that Chicago's struggled a little bit here and there,
Yeah, he doesn't rely. I mean, outside of Baltimore, he doesn't rely on one team to get him a lot of points. Where, last year, stupidly, and it ended up working out okay because I switched some guys out, ended up winning the championship at the end. But like I had like 4 Jacksonville guys, and then in hindsight I was like, man, that was stupid. Like Jacksonville just doesn't score enough points for that. This year I have a lot of Houston players. I ended up sitting Tank Dell. The kicker's fine with mixing the running back. But even like this week, where if Houston doesn't score a lot of points, I'm double hurt with it. You know what I mean? Like it affects you. And so it's very possible if Pittsburgh comes out with great.
The path for Flex to not do well, Pittsburgh somehow manages to bottle up Lamar and Henry.
TJ Watt's got to be everywhere.
New Orleans decides to force Love to throw the ball. Stack the box. Don't let Jacobs beat them. Cincinnati gets, Cleveland switching quarterbacks to the 3 name guy. So maybe they struggle to score. Cincinnati gets an early lead with a Chase, Brown run, and then they just run the ball the rest of the game.
Then you got, the other path is that Josh Allen scores 50 against New England.
Yeah. I mean, you have, and maybe, I mean, he's got people on his bench that he could put in, but if you only go by his starters, Atlanta is going with a new quarterback too, and then Devontae Smith is kind of hit or miss because you got Barkley on that team and you got Hurts on that team. Chicago, I don't know that they're going to put, I mean, unless it's a shootout, and maybe neither defense does good. But yeah, I mean, there's a path. So then what does Andy have to do? A lot of Josh Allen.
Yeah. Josh Allen decides to start running it in from the 20 instead of the 10.
Or he does 2 times during the game. He does that play where he throws the ball and then it laterals it back to him and he gets 12 points.
Yes, that would be great.
But Andy's got a few other
Hubbard
spots.
could, I mean, Hubbard's been great. Detroit, they're not known for their defense; they're known for their offense. So Keenan Allen could go off.
Oh yeah. And AJ Brown has been wanting the ball. Made that clear. Kittle's he's about the only offensive guy they got left.
Well, and so here's the fun thing for this week: we're gonna have some Saturday games.
Oh yeah.
Woo-hoo. Yeah, I mean Pittsburgh and Baltimore. That's Saturday at 4:30. We got Monday night games in this. These will all be done on Sunday as of right now. He doesn't have any Monday night players on, but Jacobs is a Monday night, so Travis
will know. A lot riding on that. But so I mean, there's a definite path for Flex to not win and Andy to win, but a lot has to go right and wrong.
What do you think about the battle of the besties?
Man, what do you? I don't even know what to say.
I would say that if I know they both scored 130, and this is nothing against their teams, they deserve to be where they're at.
Yeah.
If you were going to ask me if somebody was going to squeak into the championship game, it'd be out of this matchup. You know what I mean?
But
that somebody could score in the 90s, let's say, and get a
hands
win.
up. Hands up, who has more total points than both these guys? Here, raise your hand. Me too.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, but hey, at the right time, they both scored 130 last week.
I don't think that either one of us see the high points coming from this matchup.
I mean, I'm looking and they got some decisions to make, I think, or at least, and maybe they've already made them, but there's definitely.
Junior's got more Q's on his team.
He's got Q's, and they both have been sort of flip-flopping quarterbacks and making choices on that way. They got, like you just said, there's some question marks on health for Junior. Adam's got
two is always a sneeze away from getting a concussion. Like you never know.
I mean, his receivers really stepped up, like Thomas and McLaurin. You know that full well. Last week they went crazy. Now, can they do that 2 weeks in a row?
Well, and against Philly, they weren't playing Philly last week.
Yeah, and Vegas I mean, I guess he doesn't have another tight end, so it's ride or die with Kelce.
I think the good news for both Junior and Adam is that one of these teams has to win. One of these teams gets to go to the championship game.
Yeah, and they could potentially score 85 and get a win.
And I think that both of them equally probably have a right to feel confident about going into this matchup.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Both coming off of big weeks. Both, if you look at their lineups, I mean, they're projected to score similar. Higgins, McLaurin, Shakir, and Thomas or Garrett Wilson, like any one of them could have a wide receiver that goes off. So I think that it'll be good. It'd be interesting. Like Kelce just hasn't done much, and then when you've got Mahomes being hobbled, like I would definitely give the advantage on paper to Junior with Laporta, but it wouldn't surprise me then if Kelce has 2 touchdowns in this game. So
like Flex probably doesn't care at all, but Andy's got to be thinking, why can't I play one of those 2 guys?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but we say that, and then Adam and Junior both scored 130 last week. Exactly. So we're not. If you're listening to the podcast, we're not diminishing your team. You obviously have the ability to score a lot of points. The reality is that it probably won't happen this week that you both score like 130.
They're gonna have to make choices, whereas the other 2 teams could probably they have more leeway. They got almost guaranteed points, it seems like, on a few guys.
Yeah, those guys just happen to fall into the end zone, it feels like. And we kind of talked about, I mean, right now as it stands, the front runner for high points would be Flex. I don't know anybody else that I would be like, oh, but like you said, I think would anybody be surprised if Lee ended up winning it again? No, because he's always had that potential. It's just like, man, what happened to his team in the middle of the season? They kind of fell off, and then last week we kind of saw why he was so high on some different guys. I mean, Ed's projected to score 105 points, and he didn't score it last week, but he definitely has guys on his team that can do well. He gets
Gibbs at a time when no David Montgomery, so Gibbs will get all the carries he can handle.
So it could definitely come from somebody outside of Travis, but that's why it'll be fun to watch. And just a reminder, everybody, there are Saturday games. So if you care about high points or just want to continue to compete, like make sure your lineup's set.
So Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Yeah. So we just kind of alluded to it when we were talking about like raising the entry fee, but you missed a good time on Monday night. It was, there wasn't a ton of football watching. I mean, we were kind of paying attention to see, what was happening there. But we had 2 of our 4 winners there. Andy was there and Adam was there. Okay. I mean, it was a lot of fun, and we got to hang out. Talked a lot about some of the upcoming, the IU Notre Dame game is coming up, and so we talked a little bit about that. Talked about some basketball stuff that's happening, like college basketball, and so it was just fun eating wings and hanging out. And I feel like an alcoholic because I'm really the only person that drinks when we go to these things. So I guess I don't. I've kind of passed everybody by.
So I guess we haven't really discussed what we're going to do about next week with Christmas and all, but it's going to be a quick turnaround time for the 2 teams that make it, because there's Christmas games on Wednesday.
Yes. So that count for next
Wednesday.
Week.
Yeah, like, so like Wednesday, Thursday, it's like whoever wins is going to have to.
Like we said, it's super. It's probably it's very condense what we're able to do. We've been talking for about 35 minutes now, and we're about to wrap up. So next week, I don't even know. Like, I can't do anything on, like, I've got 3 Christmas Eve services on Tuesday, and then Wednesday's Christmas Day. So, I don't know if
we'll we do it Thursday night. We're talking about it's already, it's already been underway.
Yeah. So what we've done in the past is we haven't done a podcast like that week, and then we've come back and recap the championship game. But we'll probably post something online, or Dave will update the write-up and kind of let everybody know. We'll do something in chat. So I don't know that we'll have a full episode. It's just, the timing of both of us traveling and being with family and doing everything.
Weird to talk about like who the second round winners are when the third round's already underway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, good luck to everybody. It'll be fun. It's fun now because there's 4 teams. Next week, 2 teams left. A lot of people lose interest, kind of move on. And, but before the end of the year, we'll crown a champion, and that'll be fun. Bengals still have a 5.5% chance to make the playoffs. So
what I've saying, there's a chance.
What I've heard, we were talking about this at B-Dub. So what I read, for those who care, is that the big game to watch is Thursday night's game, which is Miami versus Denver.
Okay.
So whoever loses that game has to lose out.
Well, this coming week it's
whoever
Denver
lost
and Chargers.
No, who lost last week between Denver and Miami?
Last
Thursday. Miami. So Miami has to lose out.
Okay. So they would need to lose this week to the 49ers, which is very possible. And then they would need to, and then week 17, they would need to lose.
Or who is it? Did you say this week? Who's Thursday night's game this week?
I have down week 16 tomorrow night is the Chargers versus the Broncos.
Okay, so it's those 2. I said Miami. I didn't mean Miami or Indy has to lose one of their last 3 games.
Okay.
Whoever loses between the Chargers, I apologize to everybody.
Okay.
Whoever loses between the Chargers and the Broncos, that team has to lose out.
Okay.
So and Denver is our easier path because we control more of it. We play them.
Oh, we play. Okay. So we can at least win one of those for sure ourselves.
So the Bengals have to win out. Whoever loses Thursday, which is tomorrow, has to lose out, and then Indy or Miami have to lose one of their next games. So if all that happens, then the Bengals could slide into the playoffs.
Yeah.
And if you look back at all of this, none of this would be necessary if they won any of the games in which
those really close games that they blew,
where we scored, the pass interference against Kansas City, the
last second field goals and
last second field goals against anybody, the missed field, any of it. Just one extra win, and then that whole scenario, still a little bit of work, but becomes exponentially easier.
The game that they could have just tied it and gone to overtime, but they went for 2.
Yes.
Do you rethink that now, thinking, man, that win would have been?
Was that against the Chargers?
I can't remember. But yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I get why they did it, but boy,
yeah. And then we don't get the pass interference in the end zone on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're a Bengals fan, we're still holding out a little bit of hope.
We don't get the face mask.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, well, I don't know. It's demoralizing because like every year that it doesn't happen after they went to the Super Bowl, it's like we can't re-sign players, right? So it's like Higgins is probably gone, and will they ever sign Chase? If they don't sign Chase, what are they going to do with that money? Are they actually going to go get defensive guys that can play secondary or can rush the quarterback? It's like,
Have you been watching the Hard Knocks?
They were all talking about it. I haven't watched it yet, but it sounds like
I just watched the third one. I haven't liked it as much just because with 4 teams, and they spend a lot of time just showing recaps of games that I could watch on anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, you get a little behind the scenes and some voice stuff that you don't get, but they don't really have time to do the normal character like behind, people's houses.
Well, I think the thing that makes Hard Knocks so intriguing when they do it in the fall is that you're watching those stories develop about those guys that are trying to make the team.
Yeah.
You're seeing the heartbreak of a guy that gets sent down to practice squad or gets cut. And it's like,
just in season with 4 teams, it's just they don't have time to really dig into the stuff that I enjoyed more, because I feel like I could, like I said, I can watch recaps of games.
Although everybody at the restaurant unanimously felt like if Zach Taylor and Mike Tomlin could switch places, that we would take it all in a second.
Tomlin just has
has an ability to rally guys
like him, Dan Campbell, that his players will run through a wall, and I don't feel like
Adam's
the Bengals
real big on Dan Campbell's assistant. He wants that guy. He thinks that guy should come to Cincy, but it's like, yeah, I'm sure he's really great at play calling, but like Dan Campbell is the heartbeat of that team. People would run through a wall for him.
Coaches like that, they look at their players, and the players like, I'm going to go play good. Whereas with Taylor, you just get the feeling they're like, there's Zach,
Yeah. Well, and that's we talk about it, but like Miami Dolphins head coach, like that dude just got so much swagger. It's man, those guys want to do whatever they can for him.
Yeah. But he's starting to kind of.
Well, because they're not winning, you know what I mean? And it's like, you gotta, it's a combination, talent, coaching, culture, like all those things together. And you can't just have one of them. You can't be just a great guy that people love, and then you always lose games. You know what I mean? Yeah. Be like Andy Reid's an awesome guy, but people love him because he wins too, you know? So.
And he doesn't necessarily have to be the mean,
Yeah, I think Mike McCarthy's probably a great guy. People probably love playing for him, but like right now in Dallas, they don't love it so much because they're not winning. So,
all right, we better wrap this up.
Yep, it's been good. Good luck to our 4 finalists, and may the bestie win. We will, I don't know that Andy and Travis are besties, so that's
do you picture them watching the game together, holding hands?
I think they said that they were going to meet
skipping,
like
skipping to wherever they're going, holding hands, and then just watching the game together, feeding each other popcorn.
I think they were going to go to like a first watch, like that little breakfast boutique, and sit down and watch, see if and then they like go in there and they're like, oh, we don't even have TVs, and be like, oh, we'll just
every time they score, then they'll apologize to the other one. Oh, sorry, my guy did good. Oh. Yeah. You picture that going on?
I don't know. We'll see. So, if I know Adam, the friendship kind of ended here when the playoffs started. You know what I'm saying? I think Adam would sell Junior's kidney for a victory.
I think he would too.
Yeah. So, all right, guys, have a great week. Merry Christmas, and we will see you all whenever we wrap this thing up. But enjoy and good luck, okay?
All righty. We'll see you.
See ya.